XRP FOMO is officially back, and it's the most bullish we've ever been inside of digital assets, covering XRP, covering Ripple, because the institutional adoption, XRP ETFs, large financial incumbents are swooping in all of these digital assets at these low prices. It's going to cause a supply shock. We're about to experience large liquidity injections inside of digital assets. Everything that we've been talking about on this channel, family, has been paving out to be true. We're getting regulations. The CFTC and the SEC are now agreeing upon the currency status of digital assets. We're seeing how acquisitions and mergers are continuing to push inside of cryptocurrency. Distributed ledger technology and tokenizations is taking over the damn planet. Pack your damn bags. XRP is about to go to another damn planet right now. Welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. HighVibeAssets back again with another dagger. Make sure that you hit the like button. Go ahead and smash the like button. Smash the like button right now. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Every time that you click on this thumbnail, it's guaranteed bullish content only. 16.1 thousand subscribers on the x.com page. Family, the word is starting to get out about the HighVibeAssets, about how the information is always bullish and it's easily digestible. Everything that we've been talking about, family, on this channel is paving out to be true. And once these things really get to fully kicking into swing, we have to understand that the price of XRP cannot be dirt cheap. Absolutely not. It can't be, because what we're going to be talking about today on how the largest financial incumbents are going to be using DLT, specifically Ripple Labs, USD, RippleNet, XRP. You have to understand, for this asset to be moved around in real world use cases, for real world utility, you think a $2 XRP price is going to do it? Hell no. Absolutely not. Because the way that it's going to be used, pushed around the world in the utility, look, the prices can't be under $1,000, and they're going to actually set this price. Take a look at what I'm showing you right here on your screen. This is from Bear 589. He's talking about, look, he's never going to get old of posting this because it's actually real. This shows us where we are going. Swift nearing an agreement with Ripple to use XRP for cross-border payments, with billions of XRP secured in escrow as liquidity reserves. Family, we know that they're moving trillions, quadrillions yearly. ISO 20022 goes live. You have to understand, and what people are calling this hopium of the wild thing, you have to understand that all of the signals are in place and moving at the right direction at the right time. Swift nearing an agreement with Ripple to use XRP for cross-border payments. Billions of XRP secured in escrow as liquidity reserves. We have ISO 20022 going live. We're going to be checking that, talking about that a little bit later on. Liquidity corridors are opening. Banks are going to need real-time settlements. Swift needs a bridge asset, and multiple XRP ETF go live simultaneously. This is not an accident. Not at all. All of these things are flowing simultaneously at once. The CFTC, choosing its new CEO, telling us to lock in. The SEC understanding and moving and pushing towards that this is a new day in crypto. Executive orders being signed by the president right now. ISO 20022 is going live right now. Liquidity corridors are continuing to open. The banks and the major FIs, they need real time settlement assets, and Swift needs that bridge. Multiple XRP ETF going off simultaneously. You have to understand, family, it is more bullish than you have ever expected it to be. Yeah, it's true, man. Absolutely, it's true. We got these large financial institutions, bro. They're sweeping up XRP by way of the XRP ETF. Millions of inflows, hundreds of millions of inflows. XRP is getting wiped off the shelves from these secondary exchanges way faster than retail can do it again. And I've always told people that this moment was going to happen, that when they get that regulation and when they get that transparency, when I say they, I just mean the powers that be, the incumbents, the large financial institutions, hedge funds, mutual funds. Once they get that green light, bro, it's over. The discounted days of holding these digital assets are over. Pennies on a dollar. Some of these assets you were able to grab, underneath a penny of the actual worth when it comes to the US dollar. Those days are over. Why? Because here we have right here from Nate, we got 1.7 trillion asset manager. Franklin Templeton says that XRP plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure. You're damn right that it does. We've been talking about that on this channel for the last 3 years of how the XRPL and Ripple, Brad Garlinghouse, David Schwartz, Chris Larson, and the whole team, Monica Long, right? Stuart Alderati, how they built this conglomerate around a revolutionary technology that's going to open up and level the playing field of finance to where that whatever the most utility and whoever has the most clients on their network, they're going to be the big winners. And you got a 1.7 trillion asset manager. Franklin Templeton is acknowledging that, knowing that XRP is going to play a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure. Will be highly interesting to see how the world's largest asset managers draws battle line and around various crypto assets. BlackRock sitting out of XRP ETF, for example. Now check this out and look at this. This is very important because these are not retail saying this anymore. This is not, backdoor type of a thing. This is Franklin Templeton, right? $1 trillion asset under management. Their quotes, okay? Their sayings, right? Their doings. And one thing that we have to understand is follow the money. Check out what they say right here. It says, look, that the rapid growth of our ETF business reflects Franklin Templeton's commitment to staying at the forefront of innovation. David Mann, head of ETF product and capital markets at Franklin Templeton. XRPZ offers investors a convenient and regulated way to access digital assets that plays a foundational role in global settlement infrastructure through the transparency and oversight of an ETF. And coming here soon and shortly, you're not going to be able to grab these assets off of these exchanges. You see, the retail, we've been spoiled, right? And we've been spoiled in a way to where that you can just go on your Coinbase, your Uphold, your Kraken, your Exodus wallet, whatever it is that you're using, all of these exchanges, you can go on there, copy some Bitcoin, copy some, XRP, XLM, Solana, ADA, Avalanche, right? All of these, various great networks that have real world utility, right? And you can just go on there right now, pay a little transaction fee. Boom, there you go. Transfer it to your wallet. Now you're in the game. But now that they, and again, when I say they, I mean the powers that be. Now that they are in the space, you have to understand that the prophecy has been fulfilled by Brad Garlinghouse. Brad Garlinghouse told us that this day was going to come. What day was that? Is that institutions will directly be holding XRP and other digital assets just like the retail investors. Brad Garlinghouse told us this. He told us that it was going to be a supply shock. He told us that there wasn't going to be long until retail will not be able to just buy these digital assets at these low prices. You think the price of XRP is going to be dirt cheap when institutions are hoarding the digital asset? Follow the money. Let's listen to the prophecy right here that was fulfilled by Lord Brad Garlinghouse, telling us that, look, there is going to be a day where institutions, large FIs, community FIs, banks, mutual funds, hedge funds, central banks, large financial players inside of this space, they will be holding XRP. They will be holding digital assets directly on their books as treasuries, as investments, just like retail holders.
So my prediction, about 1 year ago, I actually was here at the Singapore FinTech Festival, and I got in trouble when I went back to the office because the PR team said I had overstepped by predicting that within a year, I predicted that financial institutions like banks would be using XRP in their payment flows. And that was a year ago that I made that prediction, and I go back to the office and everybody was like, Brad, you're not allowed to say things like that. It turns out I was right, which I remind the team of. So now as I look forward a year from now, like what are the things that are hard for us to imagine being true? And not even specific to Ripple or to XRP's community. I think one of the things that will surprise us a year from now is that banks will be custodying digital assets directly. And I think right now we think about that and think, look, there's no way that's going to happen. They're too conservative. And I think what you're seeing is, two things happening. One is banks are seeing that a lot of money is being made by digital asset exchanges globally, and banks are profit motivated. The second, and as we've talked about up here, certainly Ross has made very clear, is regulatory clarity and regulatory frameworks enable banks and financial institutions to lean into these markets. And I think we will surprise ourselves by this time. And by the way, I'll also predict that it will be banks in the ASEAN markets where there is this regulatory clarity and there is a lot of progressive forward thinking. They'll be the first to actually allow for crypto assets custody in their accounts.
And we see that has turned out to be true. Now that these financial institutions, they're holding digital assets directly on their books, just like the retail investors. And this is why I tell people all the time when you click on this channel, if you're not bullish, you're guaranteed you're going to get bullish. But if you're a subscriber and you understand the time and the pivotal moment that we are in the greatest wealth transfer, and now if you get your hands on XRP and some of these digital assets, it is time to get even more bullish. Because when you understand and when you're dealing with all of these prophecies coming true, okay? Brad Garlinghouse telling us that, look, they're going to be holding digital assets on their books. Swift and XRP, Swift and Ripple to use XRP for cross-border payments with billions of XRP in reserved escrow. We have ISO 20022 goes live. Liquidity corridors are open in banks. They need real-time settlement. Swift needs that bridge asset. Multiple XRP ETF are simultaneously going live right now. Absolutely, family. This ain't no joke, man. It's live. It's going down for real. Make sure that you hit the like button, family. Again, make sure that you hit that like button and make sure that you hit that subscribe button as well. Now, we have this from Reese Marek. Now, I thought that it was very interesting. We're going to be talking about this as well. We're talking about, okay, the XRP real world use cases and how they have, strategically and deliberately, came up with these, use cases to be able to solve. And having XRP, Ripple Labs USD, inserted essentially into the real world space for real world utility. And how Ripple put this together, they understand that, look, when you pushing into this market, and we had all these acquisitions and mergers that we have put together, they understood exactly what they're doing. Now, look at this. It says, look, last month, Ripple completed the acquisition of Hitting Road, essentially now Ripple Prime, who served 300 institutional customers, clearing $3 trillion across all markets annually. Okay. Ripple is now the first crypto native company to own a global multi-asset prime broker, FX, digital assets, derivatives, fixed income, and more. We've already seen significant growth since the announcement. And XRP and Ripple Labs USD will be used as the collateral for institutional clients. The institutional era of digital assets has just leveled up. Ooh-wee! Yeah, this is what it's been all about this whole time. It's not been about you and me, you know what I mean? The retail, it hasn't been about, the little man. It's always been about the big boys. Ripple Prime, $3 trillion clearing annually. XRP, Ripple Labs, USD to be held as collateral from day one. It equals a legit institutional on-ramp. This is how you challenge USDT and USDC at the top. Ultimate bullish. And it doesn't get any better than that. And continuing to grow in this space and continuing to push forward and understanding the real world use cases of XRP. You got ETFs, you have treasuries, you have the XRP ledger, you have the bridge currency, on-demand liquidity, and with tokenizations and stable coins. Putting that all together, family, the price of XRP cannot be dirt cheap. XRP, 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 XRP. The bulls getting ready to run out the gate.